everyone, I'm Jennifer Lingle, founder and director of Autism Consulting and Training Incorporated, where I provide families with training and support to improve the quality of life for those affected by autism. And today you are on Spectrum Connection Video 2. Thank you so much for joining me, and I really hope if you haven't had a chance to watch it yet, that you go back and watch Spectrum Connection Video 1. Because in that video, we talked all about the 3 common mistakes that families make during play. And it will really help transition you into this video. So if you haven't watched it yet, make sure you click pause now, go back, click video 1, and go ahead and watch it now. I also just want to thank you so much for all of your comments that you've been posting below on our pages underneath the videos. It's been wonderful to speak with you and provide you with support, and I love hearing your stories as well. So keep up the comments, and thank you so much for joining us on this journey. In our last video, we spoke about why is connection even important at all? I mean, I created the Connect with Your Child free training so that I can provide you with some strategies to really better connect with your child. But why is that even important? So we spoke a little bit about the importance of connection because connection is one of the key components to happiness. And all of us just want our children to be happy, and then we're happy, right? So that's why I created this program, to really walk you through the steps that you need to better connect with your child, to improve your quality of life and your child, and then in return, your entire family's quality of life. I know from the families that I work with in my programs how challenging connection can be, and how it can just be so difficult just to get your child to engage in play or engage in a conversation with you. I know how frustrating that can be. And that's why I created this free training, to really help give you the steps that you need to get you on the right path. Of course, we're going to talk more about all of this information in our upcoming webinar. So if you haven't heard the news yet, I'm doing a free webinar for you called the Connect with Your Child webinar, and it's on April 22nd at 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. So if you haven't signed up for that, be sure you go back to our first page and sign up. So we're here today because we want to learn more strategies to promote our children's happiness. But wouldn't it be great along the way if we learned some amazing tools to help with playtime, to help with structuring and organizing your home environment, and to help everyone get on the same page? Well, today we're going to talk about how to structure and organize your home environment to promote your children's success. So we're going to start with number 1 on my list. And as some of you know from working with me in the past, I am a huge advocate of this first strategy. And that strategy is using visual tools. Now, visual tools can be anything from picture schedules, writing down with just words, or even using the actual object to let your child know what's coming next in their day. So the reason that visual tools are so important is because children on the autism spectrum are typically visual learners. I've actually yet to meet a child that is not a visual learner, a child with autism that is not a visual learner. They learn by seeing rather than just hearing. So you may find that you say to your child the same direction over and over again, and you're like, why are they not listening? They understand what's coming next. We've done this a million times, and I keep telling them what to do, they're just not listening. Well, I have some amazing advice for you. When in doubt, write it out. If you need to explain something to your child and you find that they're just not listening, I recommend writing it down or using pictures to explain what's coming next in their day. Now, what I would like for you to do is a little bit of homework. I would like, when you're finished watching this video, to make a list of how you use visual tools in your life. Think about all of the places that you go in the community where there is a visual strategy in place that helps you understand the expectations. Think about when you're in a restaurant, how you know to go into the women's room or into the men's room. There's always a sign on the door. Or think about when you're in a restaurant. Imagine if the server came over to the table and just gave you a list of everything that there was on the menu, rather than giving you a physical menu to look at. Would you be able to remember 20 different items, at least 20 different items? Or imagine this, when you go to an airport, imagine if you didn't have a ticket and you had to remember what your flight number was, what your gate number was, what your seat number was. These things don't come so easily because we're so dependent upon tickets or upon our phones to let us know what's coming next. So imagine how you use visual tools. Now, if your main way of understanding your environment was through visuals and auditory cues were not very helpful for you, as it is with children on the autism spectrum, imagine how frustrating it would be if you didn't have access to those visuals. So I'm going to give you some quick examples of ways to use visual tools to create a home environment that's less overwhelming and less stressful. All right, so the first thing that you could do for visual tools to really set your child up for success is use a visual tool to let your child know what's coming up next in their day. Create a visual schedule. So you can use pictures, you can use words, you can use symbols, you can use photographs of your child doing these activities. So there's many different options out there of things that you can do and places that you can go to get these visuals. You can go online and print out pictures. You can go through magazines and cut out photographs. I create customized visual tools using our custom designed pictures for the families that I work with, but there's lots of information out there, lots of pictures online that you can print out to create your very own picture schedule for your child. So the idea is that you create a schedule using pictures and you let your child know what's coming up next during the day. So this helps with transitions, this helps with letting your child know what's coming up next, it helps them recall past events, and most importantly, it provides structure and organization to create a calmer household. So just try it. And remember from my last video what I said about trying something for 21 consecutive days in order to really give it a fair chance. Another way that you can use visual tools is to create a picture book for your car. So I bet that you've had situations where you're in the car with your child and he starts to have a meltdown. The likelihood is that he's having a meltdown because he wants to get home. He may be unsure about where you're going. So if he is unsure about where he's going, the way that he's going to let you know that is by having a meltdown or becoming very upset. So what I recommend that you do is create a photo flip file for your child. So you can get these little photo flip books at Target or at Michael's for pretty inexpensive. And you get these little flip books and you stick actual photographs of the places that you're going in the community inside this book. And you can put them in the order of the errands that you're running. So that way you can say to your child, let's look through your book. And essentially it's the same thing as using a visual schedule, but it's using photographs of places in the community. And this is also a great communication tool for your child because he may be having a meltdown because he wants to go somewhere else that he's not going and he doesn't know how to communicate that to you. So by giving him this communication, essentially it's a communication book because it has photographs in it, he can communicate to you where he would like to go. So you might be very surprised at how beneficial this one simple tool is. So the third way that I would recommend, just real quick about visual tools, is to create visual rules in your home. So you want to create these visual rules with expectations of what you want your child to do. You should state your rules in a positive way. So rather than saying, don't run, say to your child, please walk. You can tell them what you don't want them to do, but always replace it at the end with what they should do. I can't begin to tell you how many times I've been in schools and I've seen children running through the halls and teachers yelling, don't run, but all the child is actually hearing is run. They tend to hear the last thing you say. So make sure you let them know what is expected, because I've also noticed that children on the autism spectrum don't automatically, and this isn't for all children, but some kids on the spectrum don't automatically switch into what they should be doing. So if you tell a child, don't throw your toys, it's not automatic to them that they're supposed to be throwing a ball instead. So it's just important for you to let them know that. All right, and those are just some 3 quick tips of how to use visual tools in your home. We'll be going into this a little bit more in depth during our Connect with Your Child free webinar that's coming up. All right, so now back to our list on how you can structure and organize your home environment to create a calmer household. So our second recommendation on this list is to use a timer. Using a timer creates such wonderful transitions for your child. What you can do is use a timer on your phone, use the timer on your stove. I recommend using a timer where they can actually see the time counting down. So what you want to do is 5 minutes before an activity needs to end, you set the timer and you say they have 5 minutes. Now, it's a lot better than you saying 5 minutes, 3 minutes, 1 minute warning, because now they're depending upon a device rather than depending on you to give them that verbal prompt. The reason the timer is so effective, rather than using your voice to let the child know when to transition, is because your child is depending on a separate device. They're not depending on you as a person. And you might notice that when it's time to transition, your child has a meltdown or a tantrum with you. But when you're using a separate device, It helps calm your child down and they know that you're out of the equation. This is something else that's telling your child what they need to be doing. And I know how stressful it can be to transition a child from a desirable task to an undesirable task. I mean, how many times have you had your child watching a video and you have this nervous feeling in the pit of your stomach because you know that in a few minutes it's time for dinner and you just do not want to deal with the tantrum that you're about to have. So set a timer and let your child know they have 5 minutes, and you might just find that this strategy works really well. Another great thing about using a timer is that you can use it in the community. So if you're at a fun place that you need to let your child know that this activity is finished in a few minutes, you set the timer and they're already used to this because they've done it at home. And another strategy that you can use with a timer is if you're going to a place, let's say a grocery store, and your child can't stand to go to the grocery store, what you could do is use a timer to let them know how long you're going to be in that place. So let's say 30 minutes. You set the timer for 30 minutes. I always recommend setting it for a little bit longer than you'll actually need. So you set it for, let's say, 30, 45 minutes, and you let the child know that when the timer goes off, you'll be leaving the grocery store. You'll already be setting them up for success because, of course, you have your visual schedule put into place, and they already know what's expected of them in the grocery store, right? So the visual timer is just an added cue to let them know what to expect. Third on our list of how to structure and organize your home environment to create a home with less overwhelm and less stress is encourage your child to participate in movement activities before any in-seat activities. So many families that I work with talk about how stressful dinner time is. They can't get their child to sit longer than the food lasts. Or many teachers talk about how their students will not sit in their chairs long enough to complete a task. That the children are very smart, but their in-seat behavior is really frustrating and the child just does not like to sit in the chair. So there's many sensory things involved with sitting in a chair, and we're going to talk about that in a little bit. But what I really encourage you to do is promote movement activities. So this could be doing jumping jacks, running in place, jumping up and down, jumping on a mini trampoline, whatever it may be. Before you have your child sit down, encourage them to move around. Now here's another important element to this. If during an in-seat activity such as dinner, if you notice that your child is becoming really fidgety, what you can do is offer them an alternative. You can say to them, do you need to move around? Do you need to get up and walk around the house and then come and sit down? So by offering your child an alternative, you're letting him know that you're respecting his need for movement. The important key also is to remember that your child always needs to return back to the initial activity. So if during homework time you notice your child is fidgety, you can say to your child, would you like to get up and move around and then come and sit back down? If your child decides to do this, make sure that your child comes back and sits down at the table. It's very important. We don't want your child to think that they can get up and move around as a means to getting out of an activity, but rather we're allowing them to move around because their bodies need it and we're respecting them because we want to set your child up for success. From my years of experience, I have yet to meet a child on the autism spectrum that does not have sensory challenges. They're either overwhelmed by loud noises or maybe they're under-responsive to things and they don't feel pain as much as a typical child would. But I really have yet to meet a child that doesn't have challenges with sensory issues. So number 4 on our list is to make sure that you respect your child's sensory needs and give your child appropriate replacements for their sensory-seeking behavior. And here's what I mean. If your child likes to chew on his or her finger, or chew on his shirt, or chew on the back of a pencil, rather than allowing that, I do not encourage you to just stop the behavior, but rather replace it with something more appropriate. So here are some alternatives to chewing. They sell things called Chewery, C-H-E-W, Chewery. And what that is it's jewelry that children can chew on, and it's actually meant for kids that have some sort of mouthing challenges where they like to mouth different things and they have sensory issues with their mouth. So I encourage you to get something like that where your child can chew on something instead of chewing on their finger or shirt. They also have chewy pencil toppers. So you can go online and Google chewy pencil toppers that you put on top of pencils so your child can chew. Of course, all of these activities you should always monitor to make sure your child doesn't choke or anything like that. But it is important to give your child an alternative. So just like a minute ago we were talking about rules, What I encourage you to do with sensory behaviors is when you give a replacement, just like when you give a replacement for a rule, you let the child know what they can do. Instead of saying, stop hitting the TV all the time, what I encourage you to do is say, stop hitting the TV, you can hit the pillow. The thing with sensory behaviors that I have observed is it's very difficult to just eliminate them. The key is to replace them with things that are a little bit more appropriate. Now here's another thing I want you to know. When you find something that works for your child, be sure to share it with others. Now we talked about that with playtime as well. It's very important that when you find strategies that work during play for your child, make sure you share that with other people in your child's life, other members in your family, the child's teacher, therapists. Whenever you find something that works, share it. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that in our upcoming video. We're going to talk about how to get everybody on the same page, which is so important when we're talking about connecting with your child. Because once somebody is on the same page with the rest of the family, you can eliminate a lot of the stress and just focus on working with your child. What I want to let you know is in our next video, I'm going to be sharing with you a very special worksheet that I've created for you called the About My Child worksheet. And this is going to be a template that you can fill in so that you can share specific information about sensory challenges, behavior, communication, all the very important components that make up your precious child. You get to share that with others on this worksheet. Okay, so don't forget to join us on our next video so that you get to click on that PDF and print it out to share it with others. Now, what I would like for you to do below is let me know in the comments section, which strategy are you most excited to start using with your child? Is it visual tools? Is it the timer, movement activities, sensory activities? Let me know your thoughts based on what we've talked about today during this video. And as always, if you have any questions, please feel free to comment and place your questions below, and I will be sure to answer them as soon as I can. I am so excited to be working with you in this Connect with Your Child free training class, and I will see you on the next video. Have a great day.